So I remember I was gluing fuzzy balls to construction paper at my summer camp job, and I got a call. And I picked up the phone. Hi, Linnita, it's Greg from Towson University Housing and Residence Life. How are you? And that call meant two things. Either one, I didn't have housing that semester and I needed to find an alternate plan, or two, that I was actually removed from the waiting list and I was officially on the roster as a resident assistant, the second most competitive leadership role on my campus. So I said, hey, Greg, I'm fine. Thanks for calling today. He said, well, I have some exciting news. Can you guess what it is? And I said, I made the team. He said, absolutely. Can you come down in 2 weeks? So I cut my summer short and I was ecstatic to be selected amongst a cohort of just phenomenal student leaders. I remember that year, my first year as a resident assistant, I did over 25 programs, 5 mediations. I wiped tears from breakups. I convinced my mom to buy me a couch so that my residents could come in. I had open hour policies till 2 a.m. because relationships were just that important to me. It was important that students felt heard. It was important that they knew whom to come to. It was important that they knew that they had someone they could trust. So you can imagine how it felt when I sat down for my end of the year evaluation with Greg, and in the decision box that said, you're returning this semester, when I saw the word no checked. In my mind, that translated to, no, you're not good enough. No, relationships are not as valuable as you thought they were. Know that the work that you were doing was not as quality as you felt that it was. And immediately, Greg could probably see my eyes start to swell. And he said, Linnita, you don't have a people problem. You probably have the best rapport with every resident in this building, even the residents that aren't yours. But you have a team problem. To you, leadership is about being in charge and having a voice and being heard. But leadership is kind of like, let me just break it down to you. And he pulled up his chair closer. He said, our team is like a vehicle, right? And if I can imagine it, you're like the driver of the vehicle. You kind of get in, you strap your seatbelt, you're ready for whatever, and you take the direction. But sometimes in this role, we need drivers and passengers. We need people whom are empathetic, people whom have 2 free hands to reach back and ask others, do they need help? People concerned about the destination of the driver, not just in charge of where you're going, but concerned about the people whom you're bringing along. The metaphor to me didn't have the value, but as I became more in-depth and ingrained about learning who I was and what leadership really meant, I learned that it is okay to be the passenger, and it is okay to be empathetic, and it is okay to meet people where they are, even if that means getting down and meeting them eye level to where they need to be. So, you know that saying, you win some, you what? I'd say in this case, you win some, but you learn some. Always ask for feedback. Even when you feel like people are connecting, there's still a little room to have greater impact. I guess what I learned from Greg in that instance was, it's okay to be deficient in the areas that you're challenged in. It's not okay to be okay with that. How do you make that change? So every time I get into a car, I have this little thing, Greg is always in my head, even 10 years later, and I'm in the passenger seat, or even if I'm in the driver's seat, and I strap my seatbelt, I'm always thinking, how can I reach back and help those even if I'm driving forward?